Alright, so today we're going to be talking about the National Airspace System. First thing we need to talk about is Class Alpha Airspace. A few things we're going to talk about is what is Class A airspace, what are the dimensions of Class A airspace, and what are the pilot qualifications to operate in this airspace, what equipment must be on board to operate in this airspace, and what is the speed limit in Class A airspace. So first of all, what is Class A airspace? Class Alpha airspace is controlled airspace that extends from 18,000 to flight level 600, which is 60,000. This airspace is for IFR traffic only, regardless of weather conditions. No VFR operations in Class Alpha airspace. What are the dimensions of Class Alpha airspace? So, as I said before, it's 18,000 MSL to flight level 600, and it does not include airspace more than 18,000 MSL, but at or below 15,000 AGL. It extends 12 nautical miles from the U.S. coast of the 48 states and covers the lower 48 states and Alaska. What are the pilot qualifications to operate in this airspace? You must have an instrument rating to fly in Class Alpha airspace. The pilot must have an appropriate medical certificate, no basic med. In basic med, you can't fly above 18,000, which Class Alpha starts at 18,000, so that's why. What equipment must be on board to operate in this airspace? First of all, you need to have two-way radio communication, IFR equipped, Mode C transponder, and DME is required above flight level 240, which is 24,000 feet. What is the speed limit for Class Alpha airspace? So Mach 1, the sound barrier, is the speed limit. We won't have to be worrying about that in our little planes, but one day you could be flying an aircraft that goes that speed, so you have to take that into account. Next is Class Bravo airspace. So Class Bravo, we're going to talk about what is Class Bravo, what are the dimensions of Class Bravo airspace, what are the pilot qualifications to operate in this airspace, what equipment must be on board to operate in this airspace, what is the speed limit in Class Bravo airspace, what are the basic VFR weather minimums for Class Bravo. So first of all, what is Class Bravo airspace? Class Bravo airspace is found around the nation's busiest airports in terms of IFR operations and passengers arriving and departing. This airspace resembles an upside-down wedding cake and involves special entry procedures. Just like I said, you can see it looks like an upside-down wedding cake. So what are the dimensions of Class Bravo airspace? Dimensions and altitude vary for each Class Bravo airspace. The top of the airspace is usually 10,000 MSL. You must have a Mode C transponder in 30 nautical miles radius of airport, which is the Mode C veil, and I'll go back one where you can see this. That magenta line around there, see that Mode C right there? That's depicted on there. So it says right there 30 nautical miles Mode C and 80 SB out, so that kind of lets you know. So what are the pilot qualifications to operate in this airspace? You need to be a private pilot or have a private pilot certificate minimum, or student pilot certificate with an endorsement from an authorized instructor. What equipment must be on board to operate in this airspace? You need to have two-way radios, you need to have a Mode C transponder and ADS-B out. You must be cleared into airspace by ATC. You know, with Class Charlie, you can just, them recognizing your call sign lets you come in, so you actually have to be cleared into the Bravo to enter the airspace. And what is the speed limit in Class Bravo airspace? It's 250 knots indicated below 10,000 MSL, and it's 200 knots indicated below Class Bravo airspace and in a VFR corridor. What are the basic VFR weather minimums? So the basic VFR weather minimums for Bravo are 3 statute mile visibility and clear of clouds. That's day or night. It's just 3 statute mile visibility and clear clouds. So next we have Class Charlie airspace. So we're going to talk about what is Class Charlie airspace, what are the dimensions of Class Charlie airspace, what are the pilot qualifications to operate in this airspace, what equipment must be on board to operate in this airspace, what is the speed limit in Class Charlie airspace, and what are the basic VFR weather minimums. So first of all, what is Class Charlie airspace? Class Charlie airspace surrounds airports that have an operational control tower serviced by radar approach control and have a certain number of IFR operations or air carrier service. So it's a pretty busy airport. A lot of Deltas turn into Charlies because it's very busy. But there's quite a bit of operation that goes around here, and it can get pretty busy in a Charlie. What are the dimensions of a Class Charlie airspace? So generally it's surface to 4,000 AGL. The inner ring, which is right here, is a 5 nautical mile radius and it's surface to 4,000 AGL. The outer ring, which is all the way around here, is a 10 nautical mile radius and it's 1,200 to 4,000 AGL. And the procedural outer area, which is not charted, is 20 nautical mile radius. It's not charted, but it's just it's procedural, so that's usually when they want you to contact them. What are the pilot qualifications to operate in this airspace? There is no pilot certificate needed, so anybody can fly into this airspace. What equipment must be on board to operate in this airspace? You need to have two-way radio communications, as I said before. ADS-B out, mode C transponder in and over the airport vicinity, so you can't fly over it unless you have an ADS-B out or mode C transponder. So communication must be established before entry. So, excuse me, like I said before, you have to be talking to them and they have to acknowledge your call sign for you to be cleared into it. It's not like a Bravo where you actually have to say you're cleared into the Bravo. As long as they say your tail number, you're cleared. What is the speed limit in Class Charlie airspace? 200 knots indicated within 4 nautical miles and 2,400 AGL of Class Charlie airspace. And what are the basic VFR weather minimums? 3152, which is 3 statute mile visibility, 1,000 feet above, 500 feet below, and 2,000 feet horizontally. Class Delta airspace. So we're going to talk about what is Class Delta airspace, what are the dimensions of Class Delta airspace, what are the pilot qualifications to operate in this airspace, what equipment must be on board to operate in this airspace, what is the speed limit in Class Delta airspace, and what are the basic VFR weather minimums for Class Delta. So first of all, what is Class Delta airspace? Class Delta airspace surrounds airports that have a control tower, normally part-time, like ours here at Heart of Georgia Regional Airport. These airports usually have IFR procedures, and some even provide radar coverage, which we don't have radar coverage, but we are a Class Delta airspace part-time at Eastman. What are the dimensions of Class Delta airspace? Normally, it's a 4 nautical mile radius from the airport, and normally surface at 2,500 AGL, and Eastman is not an example of that. What are the pilot qualifications to operate in this airspace? No minimum pilot certification is needed, so anybody can fly in and out of here. What equipment must be on board to operate in this airspace? You need to have two-way radio communication, and communication must be established before entering the airspace, so that's something you need to remember. And what is the speed limit in Class Delta airspace? It is 200 knots indicated. What are the basic VFR weather minimums? So it's the 3152 again, which is 3 statute mile visibility, 1,000 feet above, 500 feet below, and 2,000 feet horizontally. And then Class Echo airspace. So we're going to talk about what is it, what are the dimensions of it, what are the pilot qualifications to operate in this airspace, what equipment must be on board to operate in this airspace, what is the speed limit, and what are the basic VFR weather minimums. So what is Class Echo airspace? Class Echo extends upward from either the surface or a designated altitude to the overlying or adjacent airspace. So what are the dimensions of Class Echo airspace? Normally it starts at 1,200 AGL unless otherwise specified. Sometimes Class Echo can start at the surface, 700 AGL, 1,200 AGL, 14,500 AGL, and flight level 600, which is above the Alpha airspace, like we said before. Class Echo runs from 12 nautical miles off the U.S. coast of the lower 48. And here's some visuals for you to kind of visualize that. That right there, that magenta line around the airport means it starts, it's 700 AGL. What are the pilot qualifications to operate in this airspace? There is none, so there's no minimum pilot certificate, so anybody can fly in and out. What equipment must be on board to operate in this airspace? None. You can fly with whatever equipment you want. What is the speed limit in Class Echo airspace? Below 10,000 MSL, it's 250 knots indicated. Excuse me. And above 10,000 MSL, it's Mach 1. And what are the basic VFR weather minimums? So below 10,000 MSL, it's the 3152 again. 3 statute mile visibility, 1,000 feet above, 500 feet below, and 2,000 feet horizontally. So above 10,000 MSL, it's going to be 5111, which is 5 statute mile visibility, 1,000 feet above, 1,000 feet or below, and then 1 statute mile horizontally. And then we have class Golf airspace. We're going to talk about what is it, what are the dimensions of it, what are the pilot qualifications, what equipment must be on board to operate in the airspace, and what is the speed limit, and what are the basic weather minimums. So what is class Golf airspace? Class Golf is an uncontrolled airspace and extends from the surface to the base of the overlying class Echo airspace. Like I said before, that magenta line means it was Golf, and then it starts at 700 at Echo. So no ATC services are provided for IFR or VFR traffic. So I'll go back real quick. So right here. So at this one right here, like I was saying, it's Golf till 700 because you have that magenta line there. So it kind of lets you know. Same way here, Golf to 700. So what are the dimensions of class Golf airspace? Normally begins at the service and it will extend up to 1200 AGL. Class Golf never extends more than 14,500 MSL, and Class Golf always exists below Class Echo. What are the pilot qualifications to operate in this airspace? There's no minimum pilot certificate, just like the last ones we've been talking about. You can just anybody can fly in it. What is the speed limit in Class Golf airspace? So it's the same as the Echo. Below 10,000 MSL, you need to be at or below 2,000 or 250 knots indicated. Above 10,000 MSL, you need to be below Mach 1. And what are the basic VFR weather minimums for Golf? So there's a lot of these. These can get confusing, but at 1,200 AGL or less in day VFR conditions, 1 statute mile visibility and clear clouds. So it's not much. It's kind of crappy weather, but it's just 1 statute mile visibility and clear clouds. And at night, you have your 3152, which is 3 statute mile visibility, 1,000 feet above, 500 feet below, and 2,000 feet horizontally. And then more than 1,200 AGL, but less than 10,000 MSL during the day, you have 1 statute mile visibility, 1,000 feet above, 500 feet below, and 2,000 feet horizontally. Night VFR is 3 statute mile visibility, 1,000 feet above, 500 feet below, and 2,000 feet horizontally, which is just your 3152. Go back real quick. So more than 1,200 AGL and more than 10,000 MSL, day or night, is 5111, which is your 5 statute mile visibility, 1,000 feet above, 1,000 feet below, and 1 statute mile horizontally. And now let's get into special use airspace. So we have prohibited areas, restricted areas, warning areas, national security area, military operations area, alert area, and controlled firing area. First of all, let's talk about prohibited area. So prohibited areas are airspace where aircraft operations are prohibited. Slight chance the control agency might let you through, but highly unlikely. But you can see right here, prohibited has a P on it, and then it lets you know which one it is, so you can click on that and get some more information about it. And then restricted area is aircraft flight is not fully prohibited like a prohibited area, but must be cleared into airspace by controlling agency, and it will most likely not let you through if the area is active. More times than not, they will let you fly through it if the area is inactive because there's no operations going on, but it's usually for military aircraft. But as again, you can see right there, it shows you. So there's an R, and then it shows you the number. So you can click on it and get some information. And then warning areas. So warning areas are similar to restricted areas, but the U.S. government does not have full jurisdiction. So warns non-participating aircraft of potential hazards. It extends into international waters and beyond 3 nautical miles outward from the U.S. coast. So those little blue lines that come out right here, that lets you know where the warning area is at. And you can see the W453, and then the warning 155 right there. So all those blue lines, that's your warning area right there. And then national security areas. So airspace of defined vertical and lateral dimensions established where there is a requirement for increased security and safety of ground facilities. Pilots are requested to voluntarily avoid flying through or over these areas. And it kind of gives you, where you find the warning area, it gives you a little notice right here. So for this one, it says, for reasons of national security, pilots are requested to avoid flight at or below 8,000 MSL in this area. So you could either go around it or be above 8,000. Military Operations Area, which is an MOA. They're used for high-speed military training. No clearance required to travel through. MOA traffic may exceed 250 knots because there's a lot of high-speed, like I said before, high-speed military training going on. IFR non-participating traffic is vectored around if separation cannot be maintained. And VFR flight is permitted, no protection under FAR Part 91, but you can see right here these magenta lines, this whole area, which is the Yankee 1 and 2 MOA. You just need to exercise extreme caution if you're going to fly through it, because like I said, there's a lot of high-speed stuff going on. So you just need to be wary of that. Next, we have an alert area. So high volume training or other unusual aerial activity. So all transition in traffic is responsible for own collision avoidance. And one of these areas you can see, like right here, this one, extensive low altitude and fixed wing training. And you can see with those little dash lines, it shows you the alert area. And there's another one in Daytona Beach for Embry-Riddle, and there's a lot of flight training going on down there, so it kind of lets people know, hey, there's a lot going on, so just be on the lookout for high volume training. And then you got your controlled firing areas, which is not depicted on sectional charts. It's an area where military training is taking place, and spotters are in charge of seeing aircraft and suspending operations until safe to resume. So usually they're firing weapons, and that could be cannons, machine guns, anything like that. So they have somebody looking out for you, so you just need to, which is not depicted, so you just kind of have to be on the lookout for it. So other airspace, so you have temporary flight restrictions, which is the TFR, parachute jump or glider operations, military training routes, which is MTR, and then terminal radar service area. And let's see if I can find it on here. Let's see. I'll go to the next one. So we'll talk about this first. Temporary flight restriction. TFRs provide a safe environment for highly populated areas or events. Protect people of importance, such as the POTUS, which is the president. An FDC NOTAM is used to designate a TFR. It will include location, time, area, and altitude affected. So if you have ForeFlight, when it's yellow or orange, it's going to show it's not active yet, but when it turns red, it means it's active. So you just need to click on those on ForeFlight, and it will show you that, like it said, the location, time, area, and altitude. So you just need to look out for that, and you do not want to fly in one of these when they are active, because you will be scrambled. Parachute jump or glider operations. So these items are depicted on the sectional chart and can be found in the AFD. So you can see right there, you got a little parachute and the glider. So if you're flying in that area, you just need to be on the lookout for that. You don't want to be flying in the area if there's people parachuting or skydiving. And military training routes, which is MTR. So they're used for tactical flying below 10,000 MSL at speeds in excess of 250 knots. Routes that have 4 numbers are 1,500 or less. Routes that have three numbers are more than 1,500 AGL. IR routes are flown VFR and IFR, and VR routes are flown in VFR only. So this one right here, see, it has 4 numbers. So that's going to be 1,500 or less. So that just kind of lets you know. Good rule of thumb there. And then you have your terminal radar service area, which is a TERSA. And it's a Class Delta airports that can provide radar coverage. VFR pilots are encouraged to contact radar approach and avail themselves to TERSA services. And it's not mandatory, and it does not require clearance to fly through. Basically, it's just a really busy area, it probably could be a Class Charlie airspace, but it's just they have radar services, and it's a good rule of thumb to talk to them and get flight following through that area because there's a lot of training going on. And that's it.